Leverkusen are back and they mean business. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Players Early YouTube channel and welcome to our match recap from Leverkusen Borussia Dortmund last night. The first game in the new year from the Bundesliga. A lot of eyes on the footballing world was on this game here. Leverkusen, do they mean business? Can they really challenge Bayern Munich for this title? And how did Borussia Dortmund do with a lot of players down with illness and suspension? And in the end, it was Leverkusen coming out the 3-2 winners. And for me, I'm making this video because it's very, very reminiscent of what we saw from Leverkusen last season. Far from the most attractive style of football, but it was that sort of way that they can't be beaten. They'll find a way to win a game. They'll find a way to grind out a result. They'll pick their moments and they'll strike. And they did that in this game here. It was just clinical from the Leverkusen side against an undermanned Dortmund side, but a Dortmund side that played very, very well and a team that don't lose at home. They were unbeaten at home going into this game here. Leverkusen obviously unbeaten on the road, but they ended Borussia Dortmund's streak and continued their own unbeaten streak on the road this season with a fantastic result. And it started basically from the start of the game. Borussia Dortmund went back, looked to clear the ball. Tapsoba wins the aerial battle. He was fantastic in this game here. Andrich flicks the balls on and Nathan Teller then absolutely smacked that ball into the back of the net within 25 seconds. One of the quickest goals so far this season and probably the quickest in the Bundesliga to give Leverkusen the perfect start to the new year and a 1-0 lead within a minute. And that's how the games have played out for most of it, especially opening portions of the game. A lot of possession for Borussia Dortmund. But once again, a great team move started by Tapsoba at the back. A piercing pass to Van Hincapie on the left-hand side there. He got in behind, whipped the ball into the box. And of course, Patrick Schick's there to tap the ball home in the 8th minute to make it 2-0. And that sort of was what Leverkusen were all about. I thought the game would have been wrapped up by then. I thought the game was over. But Dortmund kept fighting. They worked their way back into the game. And in the 12th minute, Karim Adeyemi put a hopeful ball into the area. Sort of went through a few legs. I think took a nick off Robert Andrich and ended up at Barno Giddens at the back post, who put a fantastic dinked effort to beat Herdetsky and find it back to the net. So we had a 2-1 game within the first 12 minutes. Again, classic German football, classic Bundesliga, goals and entertainment at both ends of the park. Dortmund continued to be on the front foot, but somehow, once again, Patrick Schick would find the back of the net. Again, set up by Tapsoba. He started the attack from the back, playing the ball into the midfield area. Then Jeremy Frimpong was found on that right-hand channel and whipped another great ball into the box, which Patrick Schick once again got in the end of to find the back of the net. It was 3-1 after 19 minutes. Patrick Schick's 14th goal in his last 11 appearances. It was just fabulous football from Leverkusen. You almost felt like goals were coming because the build-up was just so aesthetically pleasing. It was champagne football in regards there. And yes, I keep saying they didn't have much of the ball. Dortmund had a lot of the ball, a lot of sideways possession, not much intent in their play. They had opportunities here and there as the game went on. The two big moments probably came with Herdetsky making some fantastic save, denying Adeyemi in the 42nd minute, and just before the half-hour mark, a wicked deflection coming off Granit Xhaka forced Herdetsky into another massive save as well. So those were probably two big moments in the first half until half-time, Herdetsky being up to the task. But then come the second half, it was not much to show for it in terms of Borussia Dortmund. Leverkusen the odd movement, Dortmund the odd movement, but a lot of long shots, a lot of lacking incisive play. It looked like both teams are just warming back up into the season after the Christmas break. But then the big moment, the big talking point comes later in the second half, where the referee goes to the VAR box and gives a penalty for what, for me, is a nothing challenge, an arm across the face of the Borussia Dortmund attacker by Tapsoba. In the end, given a penalty, given a yellow card as well. Really, really questionable there. So I guess they're given a lifeline, Dortmund. They scored the penalty with Serhou Guirassy in the 79th minute. So made the last 10 minutes a little bit worrying for Leverkusen, but they just ground the game out. You know, time management, bit of wasting time, gamesmanship here and there, but they got the line at the end, and that was the key for them. Come to this game here, away from home, one of the toughest places to go play football, get the result, and then get the hell out of there. All in all, though, a very impressive performance. Again, far from their best in terms of dominating game of football, 60-70% possession and 30 shots. It was one of those games where we saw a lot of this point last year. They weren't their best. They'll find a way to get a late winner or an unconvincing win in the end. But this now becomes convincing for Leverkusen. So far this season, there's been too much domination and drawing games or losing a game here and there. They haven't actually played this style of football where they haven't been at their tip-top best. But when they get the ball, they're clinical with it. They can punish teams with it. And look like the Leverkusen of old, where the ball would get passed out of the back and then 1, 2, 3 passes, you break through the lines, you break the defence, and yes, we got to keep in mind Dortmund had a totally makeshift back four with all the suspension injuries and illness in the side. So you got a really, really unbalanced back four. But the way they just piece them apart away from home, fantastic to see. A few notes to pick up on in this game here. Obviously, as I said, the end of a great run for Dortmund in terms of their league form this season, but also a 21-year history of not being beaten on Friday nights and not being beaten on their first home game of the year in all these seasons. So a massive, I guess, piece of history there taken from Leverkusen. They're now 1 point off the back of Bayern Munich, won all their last 9 games. They've got some tough games to come, but winnable nonetheless. With the form they're in, they should win these games. Inter Mainz and then Gladbach as well. So interesting games to come there before they have that Champions League game coming up, and obviously Leipzig at the end of January as well. But if they can continue to extend this winning run to 13, 14, I'll tell you what, they could find themselves at the top of the Bundesliga, and pressure then all of a sudden shifts onto Bayern because they made their great start of the season. They sacked the manager, they brought company in. It was all seemed to be going way too easily for them. But all of a sudden, this gap's now 1 point. Yes, keep in mind they played an extra game, but the pressure is now on them to continue to be in that fine form. If they slip up, Leverkusen and Alonso's men are right behind them. And they just have this this character about them where they just always find a way to get over the line. They find a way to get tough wins, to get wins that aren't convincing like last night, but they make it look convincing the way they played their football. So you just can't rule out Leverkusen, especially on the back of what they did last season. Continue to find ways to win games of football, be a presence and be a part of every single game, despite how much possession or how much control they have of the game. They're always a key figure in the game. They can always control the storyline, it feels like, in many games of football. Another thing I have to point out, went to a 4-4-2 last night. So Nathan Tella joins Patrick Schick up top. They play Grimaldo and they play Jeremy Frimpong as right and left midfielders. And they play Hincapié at left back. And I think it was the new signing at right back, the Frenchman who went to right back in the end. Mukiele went to right back. So again, they try something different. We're used to having the 3-4-2-1. We had the wing backs there with Hincapié sometimes at left centre half rather than left back. You've got Grimaldo and Frimpong players, the wing backs. But this was a flat 4-4-2. It was Nathan Tella working off Patrick Schick. And I've got to be honest, I've got to keep talking about it. Nathan Tella loves a big game. Think back to that Bayern game last year. Massive playing as the striker in that one there with his pressing and energy and intensity. He can also play on the left. We know in that sort of 3-4-2-1. He plays that left attacking midfielder at times. He can drift out wide and fill that left-hand channel. He's played last night on the back of on the shoulder of Patrick Schick as a second striker and found the back of the net again. Beat Bayern Munich with his goal in the Pokal. Massive goal to start the new year off here in this game here. Nathan Tella's a big game player, and I think if he's not utilised enough going forward into this latter half of this season, he'll want to move away. He'll want to move to a side where he can start. He can be a constant figure in games. I think a Premier League move surely calls for Nathan Tella. A complete play set, again, can work well with a striker. So maybe a Brighton side where he can work as the second striker there. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up at a Serie A club potentially as well, who are just seem to be desperate for quality strikers so far in that league. There's not many good ones over there, so he might end up over there as well. But I think you've got to be careful with Leverkusen. Make sure you give this guy play time because he'll end up at another club if you're not careful, because he's a real dangerous talent. And we haven't seen enough from him starting games of football and being involved for full 90 minutes. But he was fantastic again last night. And just a few of the stats, 30% possession. So again, Leverkusen not at their 60, 70% possession best, but got the job done. 1.5 XG, 7 shots, 3 goals, 3 points is what I wrote down. Don't have to be dominating games to win games. And that's what Leverkusen done in this one here. They've gone to a tough place against a side in the new year with the history behind them in terms of how they get started, how they dominate Friday night games. And they went there and grinded out a result. I think that's the character of this side. And that's worrying. I think if you're Bayern Munich or if you're looking at this Leverkusen side, they are coming and kicking back into gear. I think that was a needed break for them. They on a great run. They come back refreshed and they go again. Andrich and Xhaka in midfield, back to their cool, casual best. No Florian Wirtz in this game here. He was rested for this one. A new style, a new system. It's worked for match day. And the first match we've seen him play with it. Mukiele coming into his own. He's had a real tough start to the season at his new club. We've got Grimaldo and Frimpong dominating this game from the wide areas. Yet again, Patrick Schick in his goal-scoring form right now. It's also becoming to a bit of a climax here for Leverkusen at the right time of the season. If you want to peak, it's this time. Back end of the festive period into the new year, get that form up, get that control of games back up. They're in a good spot in the Champions League, fantastic spot in the Bundesliga, still in the DFB Pokal with Bayern Munich not in that competition. We're looking at them once again winning multiple trophies. And that's a worrying sign because they haven't really been at their best so far this season. They're only just kicking into gear and they could go and make it a historic season at that. Quickly, more players touch on before you wrap this one up. Tapsoba, fantastic again. Aerial presence, superb. Drifting out to right wing back or right back at times as well. A threat in terms of starting attacks. Every single goal started with Tapsoba and his play. The first goal, they headed towards Robert Andrich, who flicked it onto Teller to find it back of the net. A great incisive pass to Van Hinkapierre for the second goal, who ended up assisting that one. And then a darting pass into the middle of the park to open the whole game up. Then it was found to Frimpong, then to Schick to find the back of the net. He was fantastic. Ball at his feet, one of the best ball-playing centre-backs in world football. So physical, so strong. The presence of him at the back there. He's not the captain, but he feels like the captain. He feels like that leader from the back. And this is the player that was basically nowhere a few years ago. I'm pretty sure in the Portuguese division or second division. He's found his own here in this Bayer Leverkusen side. And I was surprised. In a back four, I didn't expect him to be this consistent and this good. Always thought of him as a central figure to a back three, but did fantastically well as a back two in many regards. The two at the back there did really, really well. Swept up well, cleaned up well, started attacks like he does at his best. And that's another dangerous sign. He's looking in tip-top form because coming into this sort of festive period, Leverkusen were conceding more goals than we're used to them conceding too many late goals, too many weak goals and very casual defending type goals. This looks like, well, it was a back four, but that defensive unit were back to their best once again, and that's also a worrying sign. You've got an informed Patrick Schick. They won without Florian Wirtz, who's probably one of the best players, if not the best player in Germany at this current point in time. And that back line, the defensive players, looked much more controlled, looked in charge of that game there. So worrying signs for other teams in world football. And then finally, Patrick Schick yet again. 2 goals in this game here. Fox in the box type stuff. He scores all these late goals, know about that. But in this game here, it was 2 goals in the clutch moments earlier in the game. Got the game killed off early so Leverkusen could just play it out, defend it out, manage the game. But he was the one that got that bright start underway. And it's being in the right spot at the right time. Proper number 9 stuff. He can press a little bit, but he's not a presser. He's not a false 9. Doesn't hold the ball up as much. He just gets in the spots to find the back of the net. And there's not many of those sort of strikers going around these days, but he does that job fantastically well. Gets to the end of the Hinkapierre cross, gets to the end of the Frimpong cross. By the way, those 2 assists were fantastic. Those 2 players, Hinkapierre and especially Jeremy Frimpong, looked fabulous as well. I think I look at that team there, not many players performed below a 6 out of 10. There was a lot of stars in that game. Teller, Schick, Tapsoba, Frimpong. There's 4 players that probably 8 or 9 out of 10s. That was a really positive sign for this Leverkusen side. Had to make the video though because we love Leverkusen here on the channel. We followed them all the way through last season and that story, how it was developing. Obviously a lot of off-field drama this year coming to the year. Who stays, who goes? Does Xabi Alonso go to Real next season? Does he go to Liverpool? All this off-field chat. Now it's all settled down. We're into the nitty-gritty part of the season and they're hitting their straps. So just keep an eye on the Bundesliga. 1 point gap between them and Bayern Munich. They're playing some great football. They've been playing some great football across the last month and a half. If they continue this run on, look to them in Europe, look to them in the Bundesliga. We could be seeing a bit of a treble run going on here. League, DFB Pokal and Champions League because they're just so dangerous. They're a unique way to play football. Yes, a lot of teams play 3 at the back. Yes, a lot of teams play possession-based football. But it's the way they go from A to B like that. They turn it on. It reminds of what Ruben Amorim did with that Sporting side against Man City. It was quick passing into the feet, out of the feet, move the ball, zing the ball around the park and get into the final third. And Leverkusen have been getting back to that sort of best. And they've got that incisive part of their game with Patrick Schick and Florian Wirtz, who operate really, really well in tight areas. But you've got the players in open space like Frimpong, Grimaldo, Hinkapierre, who are unstoppable. So just keep an eye out for Leverkusen in the back end of the season because it seems like they're finding some great form and at the right time of the season. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Did you watch the game? How did you see the game going? Was it a penalty for Dortmund? I don't think it was a penalty at all, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, smash a like on it, guys. Subscribe to the Players Zone channel for more podcast videos, prediction content here on the channel. And with that being said, guys, I hope you have a great today. Enjoy the weekend's football action, and I'll see you guys for the video very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.